Hello and welcome. Oh, I love how the lights just changed when I said that, and did not mean for that to happen. I appreciate you. So hello, my name is Jason Montgomery. Hauka Ola. I am from Attack Bear Press, and this is another evening of open mic. So welcome. Yay! I love getting people to clap for me. So Open Mic is a monthly open mic with a featured reader poetry evening here at Holyoke Media. This event is brought to you by Attack Bear Press in partnership with Holyoke Media and funded by a generous grant from the Mass Cultural Council. So now I have done all of the things that I'm required to do. And so this is just a reminder that this is a multilingual space, so please don't feel as though you have to read in English if English is not the language that you wish to read in. We will love and support you no matter what. This is also a space that we want to, encourage people to step up, and so please, compliment your fellow writers and say good job and all that good stuff. Tonight, given our list, we're going to say that 5 minutes is about what we like people to read, but you can go a little bit over because we have a little bit shorter of a list tonight. So without further ado, we have a first-time reader in the house. So yeah. So please help me welcome Kameyu.
Thank you. My name is Kameyu Raza Bashai. I'm from Dorchester, and I've been writing for about 30 years, and I've never shared any of my stuff publicly. I write poetry, I write music, I write screenplays. And I've kept most of it to myself over the years. And Alexandra told me about this opportunity, and I had some tension about it at first. And then I just thought to myself, it's time to just step out of my shell and do something. So, I consider myself a pretty versatile writer, and I didn't want to just come up here and read one thing. So I brought 3 pieces with me. The first one is called Window Pane, and it goes, if I died, how many timelines would I redefine? There's only horror in my scope if you read in mine. It's a hopeless march, and I lead the line. Death by 1,000 couches, watch me recline. Do you love me or hate me? Tell me now. Would you kill me or save me if this was my trial? 9 done is the number to dial. Dream catcher, dream fetcher, I won't wonder out loud. But I'm still wondering how. If I make you sick, how could you stomach my style? Essence of a black man, burnt into the atmosphere. Hush, don't touch, but I promise this is what happens here. I'm sinking in the ship, life's a bitch, so I'm tied to the captain's chair. I love my glass house, it matches with my plastic fears. I've died, have you died? I've lied, have you tried? I'm an underdog, I need a quarter for my Sushan. I've been a newsline. You want a crazy life? Here, you could use mine. They use you to do time, then let you go and accuse you to do fine. The DA calls your lawyer his brother. Damn, so who's mine? I bought a skateboard and a bike, and I still can't find a new grind. Not every ghetto look like Dubai. Not every felon get a new trial. Shout out to Tukey, he died because of his old style. Get a new life or do life. Cherish and hold. You're like 1,000 sunsets on an endless loop. Every day I get to fade into your vibrance. Kiss me so I can float into the arms of Zeus, where I'll be waiting with 1,000 tiny angels singing to your footsteps. Who gave you this love, and why is it so pure? It's a question that will fade into insanity, while truth decorates the door to our footsteps. I see you stretch across the horizon, dancing in the pillows of honesty. Am I worthy? This is me. Encore, another round for the beauty in the red sun. I saw what I could never see, and it was all in you. Your rain is magic. Every drop is symbolic of our passion. Rain on me. I love you more than a million moons in a snow globe. Shake my world and watch me float around you. Human dialect. A man is created from the circumstances of his own choices, while the environment remains a product of his mind. The unwillingness to change is what stains the souls of our younger generations. The children inherit a maze of confusion that will lead them into the center of revulsion. We are reflections of the beauty we see in the beautiful things. However, we are conflicted with the simplistic course of nature and the assumption that we are entitled to the misguided cruelty that we have for one another. I feel that the road will expose more than the destination as we strip away layers of misconceptions, each layer more tender and unsettling than the last. The absence of acceptance has left a void too big and dark to light the path with the dying embers of our biggest dreamers. The misfortune of bad luck is what we manifest in ourselves. Then we blame our neighbor for our shortcomings. In a land where freedom is gold, we slave ourselves for an ideology that can only belong to the rich. We build weapons to eradicate and recruit our babies to wield them. They aren't old enough to live, but yet they're old enough to die. We market war on the same channels as fast food, and then we speculate on how our agenda can ever be selfish or mistaken. We search for space for better understanding for ourselves instead of just being better to ourselves. We are divided by the truths that should bring us together. Religion and spirituality are catalysts for peace, but yet we continue to molest the purity of our foundations. Humanity has an insatiable desire for destruction. There is never enough to gain. We are unsatisfied with the simplicities of what we have. The hunger for more will be the demise to our democracy. There are many unheard voices inside the choir of confusion. They sing of better days. They offer thought to the conformability of ignorance. There are few. There are the screams of our children begging us to listen and think about tomorrow. Fear and faith are paternal twins destined to destroy each other. They cannot coexist in the same heart. As equal motivators, they will clash in the subconscious of our society, each with their own bill of rights. Avoidance is the opposite of interjection because we can only face what we face. True greatness is an example that we can only emulate if we strive to fortify the peace inside each other. The reality is, we can't save the world, but we can change how we treat each other and pray that the universe responds. Thank you.
Let's keep it going for Kameu. Thank you. Love a first-time reader. And so now I'd like to welcome up Mary. Mary, are you in the house? All right. Oh, I should actually say one more thing. This is brought to you by Holyoke Media and Attack Bear Press. As such, this is recorded and is rebroadcast on Holyoke Media. You can find it on Holyoke Media's website or YouTube page, and you can see a great backlog of some amazing readers and some amazing featured poets and some amazing open mic folks. So if you get a chance, visit Holyoke Media's website for more information and to see this. All of this. So thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. I'm going to read from a series of poems that I call the Love Child Ballads. And this one is called The Ballad of the Humor-Impaired Woman. Excuse me. She is a pear-shaped woman, ripe for the picking and dumping of mud upon by the two-bit comic seeking amusement from his humdrum existence. Hey, Miss Snip, why are you so serious? Don't I get a laugh from you? He's read, Take a Long Walk Off a Short Pier Ride. But he still wants to ride her pride off into the sunset, just because Her hormones took a dip. Her womb bore no kids. She lives the values she's been taught. Work hard and reap many rewards. Treat others as you want to be treated. But no matter how hard she works and how much she gives, all she gets is a punchline to the story of her life. She's wasted her graces on one who gets his wit from the sewer, which he casts her integrity in, initially pretending to be in awe of her, thus taking her for a fool. For her, it's about the struggle. If she wanted to find humor in it, she would know where to look, not from the two-bit comic, who uses humor to try to shame her for her life choices. She made that choice because the only child she raised was herself, aware early on of denigration, calling it self-love. She's better off alone than to be mismatched with one who wants to grind her to a pulp. Like the two-bit comic who couldn't get his wife to laugh at his jokes. Therefore, he tries them out on somebody new with similar results. Unlike the wife, she doesn't live with him and won't keep his house for him. She's no fool there. No man needed to make her honest. She made herself honest, which is what he can't handle. Thus the division he calls humor. The pear-shaped woman bears fruit in other ways and insists you don't let it go to rot. It can nourish you or it can poison you, depending on your constitution. The pear-shaped woman's sense of humor is alive and well, both juicy and dry, tart and sweet, whatever the situation requires. She just doesn't find you amusing. Thank you. The Ballad of Body Language. Playing I Spy upon the one out of sync with the rest, the one in charge calls out, "Shape up or ship out. Your attitude is not welcome here." Soon it is followed by a message to the company. "Take a look at the one who refuses to be the glue holding us together and don't be like her." Myopia and illiteracy go hand in hand. Not paying heed to the real message that says, "I'm in pain, I'm bleeding inside." Once the pain is evident, empty words of caring come raining down, condolences for the not yet dead, preparing her for the ditch, to be buried in and forgotten. But soon she will heal herself without any help from the cluster and walk away from it all, not mincing words when she says, "This company makes me sick." Her walking away is all the body language she needs to deliver. Thank you. And I'll do one more, The Ballad of Common Ground. "Oh, La Folia, madness," she gasped, recoiling since the day the wicked and stupid hit the streets, bitter and proud of knowing how to get a hold of a gun and use it on anyone in their way. The world has forgotten it's better to get your information from the poet than the office rumor mill where, if they know you're a poet, they want to be entertained and inspired at no cost to them. The poet has absorbed all expenses. Common ground ceased to exist. The art of being human was not grasped rightfully. Everyone expects the poet to be a soft touch, even after they push her in the mud. It's what she got for rocking the boat. That's the poet's job. She wants to pick and choose her audience, but the wicked and stupid will love her for what they can get from her and use to justify their position. In this case, the poet won't be held responsible for the lethal revision of her words to suit their appetites, won't mindlessly spew out "love conquers all" so they can conquer the world, won't recite elegies of the seasons when it's open season on humanity. This time her love has conditions. The conditions are to respect her space, honor her being, do no harm to any one being, honor your own being, honor every single being. Refusal to honor these conditions will only ensure that the divide remains, the divide the wicked and stupid claim they want to reach out across. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Mary, if you wish to read and you've just arrived, there is still space on the reading list. With that said, can we welcome Kate? Kate to the stage.
Hi. This poem is called Rhyme or Reason. Yes, I am aging, but also I'm easing as wrinkles crowd into my corners, a natural progression of things, no matter the scorners. So much water underneath the bridge, all that dye already cast. Hurry, do it quick. Come on, super fast. Take the week off, I tell myself. No need for a hullabaloo. The robins are on the lawn. The finches are sucking down dew. Beyond the fog of Canadian fires, the world is poised and waiting. It is swimming and biking weather. Enough with this clever contemplating. My kids have gone off to their hot, humid summers, and I am here with the dog and the birds and no shortage of wonders. This idea will hold, I know it, to my mind I plead. Stop whispering words to me. There are other things to need. The deadline is set, each Friday another post, and I've not missed one yet. Yes, in fact, that is a boast. The pool is open, drive with care. I'm known to pull over to watch a hawk circle, a powerful prayer. I won't write a thing today, no humble brag nor celebratory toast. I'll hike instead, somewhere close or up the coast. Well, this is fun, a light game and some verse, a new feather in my cap, an add-on to my purse. No more laboring over hardships. It's time to find a new shtick. Is it wrong to demand some carrots? I've had enough of this stick. If it wasn't this I was writing, I'd be tree bathing in the woods. This is the lie I tell myself, never one to chase the goods. I prefer reclining on my couch, running through my list of shoulds. Knocking over the kickstand, hopping onto my big red bike, riding into this glorious season while my writing colleagues were out on strike. I hear what you're saying, I know what you mean. Nothing productive comes too far from that dreaded screen. But the birds are calling and also good friends, and all my well-meaning moves nothing in the end. Time has been wasted behind a keyboard dutifully waiting, loving and living, and in general, wild-cating. I hear your argument, I know it's true. This poem is writing. What more can I do? Clacking away with its hemorrhaging feeling is too much to stay away from, far too appealing. Just this one more stanza before I hit the road. I am filling up paper with my own ancient code. It's all just a crapshoot. What more will I spill? And when will I quit this? And may I never get my fill.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So once again, this programming is brought to you by Attack Bear Press and Holyoke Media with a generous grant from the Mass Cultural Council. There I've done the thing I have to do every single time, twice now, so they can't accuse me of not doing it. And with that, can I have Bill to the stage, please?
I remember when standing here, you can't see anything with the lights in your eyes. This first one needs a bit of an introduction. My name is Bill, by the way. And I was a psychologist for a long time and practiced psychotherapy in Greenfield and Ware, and oftentimes saw families and children. And one of the things that we typically do when interviewing children to find out what's going on for them, if they're under the age of 8 or 9 or 7, we have them draw pictures. So I handed this young 7-year-old boy some paper and some crayons and said, draw a family. And this is the result. It's called Diagnostic Interview with a 7-Year-Old Boy. Drawing number 1. 2 railroad tracks converge at the center of the page. Each has a train steaming on it head on toward the other. This is the mom train, this is the dad train. A stick figure in the exact center. His arms are raised up. In the foreground, a dark scribbled blotch. This is the pit I will fall into. Drawing number 2. Again, a small figure in the middle with his hands up. 2 other figures, one on each side, have happy, smiley faces. Their hands are extended toward him, huge and out of proportion, holding enormous guns pointed at him. A bullet is shooting out of one, ... towards his head. Another bullet from the other side, ... towards his heart. They're happy because they're killing him, he says. This is my clinical note. They are each trying to kill the other in his heart, which leaves him with nothing. He's right. They are killing him. They each want to blame the other for his death. But they are not happy either. They are not happy at all. This next one I brought because it's somewhat topical with what's going on in the world these days. It's a poem on genocide. It's called Even My Tears, in honor of the Herero people of Namibia, the first victims of genocide in the 20th century. I am kneeling before a hole in the sand at the edge of the Sahara Desert. My fingers are bloody stumps, crusted with sand from digging desperately in search of water. My baby beside me is dying. I am dying of thirst, and so is she. There is water only a few minutes' walk behind us in the well of our ruined village, but that way is barred by the bayonets of the Kaiser's great general von Trotha. Bayonets, you see, can be washed and reused. Bullets, though, have to be bought and are too expensive to waste on women who will die anyway. And almost all of us were dead already, caught in the trap cruelly sprung at daybreak, when the mind is confused with dream and sleep, and then the surrounding sound of cannon and Maxim machine guns nonstop ripping and exploding for 9 hours through the flimsy homes of our village and the soft-fleshed bodies of our children and our elders. A year ago, There are 80,000 of us living on land that we inhabited for generations. Now, there are less than 15,000, soon to be zero. The soldiers and colonists, by design, left only one route of escape possible, funneling those of us who had survived the mechanized carnage into the implacable, fatal heat of the desert. My baby is no longer breathing. I am so thirsty, I cannot cry. Even my tears have been taken from me. 12,000 kilometers away, the inhabitants of Berlin will cheer and celebrate in the streets for a week the great general's heroic and mighty accomplishment.
Thank you very much, Bill. And next we have Jade. Jade.
Hi, everybody. I only have one poem, because it's a little bit long. Dear questioning friend, it's all a little like this. One day, you were the same you've been forever, which is the witness, lurking with patched instinct in the shadow of the peak of the concrete slope of the overpass. The road throbs above you, but you are otherwise unassailable. You eat your thick paste and drink the water that collects in the divot, the only place you clean. You have two languages, but one is clumsy and the other tears at flesh, and only the flesh tearing reflects you to some honest degree. You don't see yourself for this because it's all you can remember. You see your circumstances as reasonably universal and therefore invisible, no lasting joy. Then you see a glimmer in the blinding out there, where sun and sword destroy whatever moves. It's a person dancing. You want to warn them, but don't. You will only watch and then look away. But they do not burn. They dance by. Uncertainty. Have the rules changed? No, you doubt that. But now a new thing grows and gnaws. You wish you could try that dance. But the sun, the hidden dangers, you shift. You cannot find what used to pass for comfort. You see the line of light. You reach across, hesitant, until your finger experiences sun, warmth. You need more. Your hand, the same, expanding, more. Arm as well, and wow, and more. You lean and fall into it full, the light, the warm, the dozen kinds of roses in the field. More. You dance. What comes next is the pressure of your pencil in the book, the chosen words as well, which tell of suffering a body louder than the mind. It's so sad, so hard to see and not to try to interfere. And what if every single motion is unstoppable until it touches a person? In the same way you look up at the moon on a clear crescent night and grasp as an oncoming arrow the scale of the spheres, the direction of the sun, the absurdity of your angle on the surface of this thing. You interfere. You crack open and peel the numbing rind off your brain. Next is an ongoing loss that is sharp, vast, and of unknown shape and scale. This must be wagered against what remains of the joy and wholeness you could ever have. The loss can fuel a higher climb, can set loose every locked up hope as goals now made available. You will know what love can mean. It is worth it. It surpasses being worth it, but it is a loss that cannot be treated as accountable. If you make it through this, you will see the color of peace arcing across the air. You will have hope and solid footing, maybe the smell of fresh tobacco in a pipe. You will have satisfaction draped over your heart like warm, wet silk. You can still taste the peanut butter in its chocolate like a person in their body. Trauma talk heals you in shared insights above the buzz a needle gun emits. There are heavy things here that do not move. No one is lost. Our home is ready for you. It's time to color in an outline. Thank you.
I normally sit in the front row, so I had to run. So next up to bat, can we have Dana, please? Dana.
Is this mic too high for me? Can you hear me all right? Now we can. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Mote. In this case, mote is spelled M-O-T-E. A gray half-sun, a bramble of branches the color of tea, a strangle of bittersweet, splinters of a lightning-fractured tree that blew up and landed again, buried, dug out, poking through dirty ice, permit to dump. The wind picks up, snow dusts the trees and pond. I come from a long line of dust, as far back as one can know, and even before that, scattered, spit out, spirited away, picked up and come so far, by flight or stuck to shoes, I don't know where before. I don't care where. A language foreign to me, tongue-lapped. No one knows. Matchbox hold my clothes. I am dismissed, sent back to myself. I compound, blow loose. How far would you track me? Would you whisk me away or gather me in a dustpan along with a dead housefly? It's a novice's problem. Afar. A word I learned today in symbols I don't understand. Dust that is not dust or not that kind of dust, depending on who is saying it and what it is you need for it to say. What is it to find a word and say that in some way it defines you, a word you've never heard before? Those people who say they belong somewhere are lucky or deluded. None of us belong anywhere. We're just here. We are windblown, seed, and seed willingly or unwillingly, a cyclone of motes. Wipe the board, powder flies, the air supercharged with particles that remain. Clap to erase, soul clap its hands and sing. Cymbals slap till we settle. Yes and no come and go, the stupid Michelangelo of an articulate white woman of a certain age. Yet it pleases me to know that if you scratch me, I am not diminished, I reformulate. I am in flux, still in play, dust temporarily suspended in juice. I speak in air that you altered. Maybe I'll blow the house down or move it to Kansas. Excuse me. Whole or in pieces. I am no nihilist. Will you call me tomorrow? We could walk again. Each successive word evaporates or adheres. Sticking is the property of a page, real or imagined, until it too is blown away, disintegrated, or is reconsidered. The sky has turned bright blue with white clouds, pink on the underside, because it's that time of day. On the far ridge, as close as the crow flies, I stroke the soft trees like the downy hair on your forearm until the snow on the bluff turns salmon. Ducks sit on the water where the ice is no longer trustworthy. Geese honk overhead. But it's the dog's pitch, simultaneously high and low, that ricochets, dominates. Ha ha, do you hear the ducks? They've begun talking back to the dog. I suppose the dog can't get to them. It's as simple as that. A flap of duck wings lifts and resituates the raft to another gap in the ice. Are they in the same relative positions, or have they shuffled? Dusk settles in. What is not dust now will be dust later. When it is time, let me attach to the wind and observe the movement of all things. Tonight, I think I will sleep on the window ledge by my bed. This one is called Endings. The narrator's ending. I stood there silently, nearly particulate. I once was an unwitting god and experienced the willfulness of love, memory, hope, and loneliness. The wind's ending. I blew there silently, cradling one human. I am always there in the open. Grain of sand's ending. I blew there silently, particulate. Once I was a mountain, sometimes borne by the wind. Squabble of gulls ending. We flew there noisily, following the action of wind, waves, food, and curiosity. We wore sunglasses. Worms ending. I was the shit who landed there. I once had form and await my next. Footsteps ending. We stood there with you momentarily, then raced into the past at the same time you race into your future. We were once gods too. Water's persistence. A child's finger runs down a dune and splits it open again. Sewers war with rain, fresh and salty intercourse. The ocean waves, beckons. Thank you.
So before I bring up the next reader, some of you might be wondering, hey, how do I know when this goes on? How do I know when this happens? Does it happen at the same time every month? Ha ha ha, no, it does not. So to know when we do this, you need to follow Attack Bear Press on Instagram or Facebook. We will post when we do this a month in advance, and then the guessing game starts. So please, if you have a chance, follow us on all the social medias to know when the next open mic is. Now's the moment when I go, hey, would you mind if I read a poem too? Like I'm not standing at the mic. Yeah, so this one's called Time. Go to the places your God won't bother to look. Walk there, hoof over hoof, without malice in your heart. At the smallest of small, the flow of time is universal and absolute. Regret should be an impossible thing. In the yard, puppet smiles. The joy of 9 years ill spent is weighty, but still better than nothing. And I didn't have sex again last night. Trust me, it's more than last night. It doesn't matter, and matter tells the universe how to move. I want to move, far from this city, far from anyone that may know me, and further from all those who don't. I should run off into the Salton Sea, swim down to the bottom, then bury myself in the salts, metals, fertilizers, and pesticides. Puppet knows me better than anyone. In all these years, only he has seen me struggle out of the desert. I wonder how many of us are lucky enough to be seen, truly seen, as he takes my crumpled $10 bill. At the largest of large, time is an absolute regret. Yay! And so now I bring up our featured reader for the evening. Our featured reader tonight is Dawn Fisher. Dawn has been writing... Oh, yeah. Yay! Dawn has been writing poetry, fiction, and nonfiction for 40 plus years. His first book of poems, On the Edge of Grace, was published in July of 2021 by Human Error Press. He lives and writes in Chicopee, Massachusetts. He has had poetry published in dozens of journals throughout the country. He is currently working on a novel. So let's give it up for Dawn.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, Holyoke Media. Thank you, everyone, old and new friends who came. I do appreciate it more than you know. So I'm going to start off with some new poetry. I'm going to read from the book, and then I'm going to read a little bit from the novel. First poem. It's called Wild Years, and it's dedicated to my mom, Lorraine, to my late mom, Lorraine. Wild years. You are 100 wild centuries. You didn't want to know it, but it was there in your blood, in your bones. That time you left a flaming bag of dog shit on someone's doorstep. The few times I heard you say the word fuck, even a few of what Emily called wild nights, at least 3 that I know of. You are 100 wild centuries, harsh winters, brutal summers, bright springs, colored autumns. You learned to behave, keep it in, but I saw you laugh just then, 40 years ago, now. In my head and in my heart. I don't believe in the afterlife, but you did. When you lay dying, I said to you that you would see the ones you loved, got wild with. You are 100 wild centuries, living overseas, crossing oceans, living in Canada, living here. Their blood is your blood. That night, you wanted to stab your sister. If I had a knife, I would have done it, you always said. That was wild. We all have 100 wild centuries running through us. It's a wonder we ever sleep. Okay. And this poem is called Forgiveness with a question mark. Do I forgive the 2 boys who held my hand to a hot pipe before... Oh, hang on, I lost my place. Do I forgive the 2 boys who held my hand to a hot pipe before homeroom sophomore year? One of them is dead, a firefighter killed by fire. Do I imagine the guy who lived on the same floor as I did, who threw me down on the sidewalk on Beacon Street? Dead in a car crash in Florida. The guy who harassed all through high school, killed in Iraq. There's a memorial for him in town. I did not plan any of this, I swear, nor did I feel robbed of the moment to offer forgiveness. I have thrown one punch in my life. On the school bus, he was hassling my younger brother, dead of a heart attack in Texas. I had nothing to do with any of it. I barely thought about them, and when I did, it was anger. But maybe I put it out there. The forces aligned. It's weird, isn't it? If I were a little more neurotic, I'd almost feel complicit, but I don't. What is forgiveness? Is it grace? Is it kindness? Is it better to give than to receive it? Will I feel magnanimous like the Pope? With a praying hand, I touch my forehead, my heart, each shoulder. You are absolved. Go in peace. Okay. This is called Something Grows. I watch as the leaves on a bush I cannot identify get bounced by the breeze. In fall, they turn a burgundy color, drop to the ground. Trees age better than we do. When they do go, they serve as a home for woodpeckers. I too will one day be a feast, maybe a home for the worms. Bury me in my backyard on the hill I used to roll down. Above me, plant sweet strawberries, peppery arugula, red tomatoes, basil that will make pesto that taste of me. Or let it grow wild, primrose, pine trees, elms. I won't be there, I don't care, just so long as something grows. Okay, from the book, On the Edge of Grace, which I was going to bring here to have copies to sell, and it completely slipped my mind. So, there it is. Talk to me later. Maybe we can work something out. Okay, this first one is called The Creative Process. I can't draw a stick man. He mocks me, my not well-drawn man, wiggles non-existent hips at me, taunts me, but he's only made of sticks. I point this out. He reminds me I created him. I'm his trickster god. You made me this way, he wails, shaking his thin arms, weeping a puddle of tears collecting at his feet. To make him feel better, I give him a boxy car with not quite round wheels. Bumping along a road, my slashing pen gives him birds above, a quarter of a yellow sun peeking from one corner of the page. From a small house, smoke curls from a chimney. Happy now, so easily pleased. If he gets down again, I will destroy him and his world. I like being a trickster god, controlling something, even only a simple stick man. I love your work, he says. I love you. He dances a happy jig across the page. It doesn't matter that he's cruelly drawn. He is something. Okay. Okay. Yes, give me a moment here. All right. Never lead a cow downstairs. There's a little known factoid. You can lead a cow upstairs, but you cannot lead it downstairs. So this poem came out of that. When I was young, my father tried to lead a cow downstairs to keep it out of the rain. The animal broke its front legs. Milk ran out of its nose. Later that night, drunk at dinner, Dad warned, "Never lead a cow downstairs. They will never forgive you." In Dad's later years, I saw he was right. The cow's eyes, once soft and friendly, became hard, accusing. "I once enjoyed the feel of your hands on my side," the eyes said. "I loved the way they caressed me when you stole my milk. Now I only see hands leading me downstairs." So, hey. Thank you. This one is called The Wooden Bird. A wooden bird hatched from a wooden egg. The mother looked at it, thought if it fell to the ground and splintered, the pieces would make an excellent nest. Don't judge her. She was not expecting what she got. She was thinking of making a home for a child that would never fly, made of oak, hard, heavy like a door. Not balsa, which, if a breeze rose, will be light enough to stay elevated. It moves slower than other birds, and when the rain arrives, what then? For all these reasons, the mother bird nudged her wooden offspring from the nest, using the splinters to build a lovely new home that other mother birds envied. "It was made from my wooden child," she would sing. "I loved him. He was beautiful, but wooden. What else could I do?" Okay. This one is, you remember a few years back, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, there was a mass shooting at a church in Texas, in a town called Sutherland Springs. And this poem came out of that. I wish I could say that it's not relevant anymore, but apparently not. Anyway, for Sutherland Springs. This poem is not about angels or about devils. It is only about us, our own limitless capacity for good and evil. This poem is not a prayer. It will not change the world or anyone's mind. This poem is shot from a gun, but it doesn't take a life. This poem sits on both sides of the fence. This poem is reasonable, even-minded. It sees both sides of an issue. This poem is fed up. It is a rant, a diatribe. This poem is a spitball launched at God. It is a drop in an endlessly deep bucket. Pock, pock, pock. This poem walks into a church, hands out milk and cookies for everyone. This poem walks into a church and takes a seat like every week. This poem walks into a church. This poem walks into a wall. This poem walks away. Everyone walks away. Okay, thank you. All right. Hey, bear with me here. Okay. This is called Good Sheep. You see people doing their best to get by. You call them sheep. Let me swallow this last mouthful of rich green grass while I stand in this lovely meadow and say, you're sheep as well. In your own way, you like the taste of grass. We are sheep, dealing with the world as it is, not as we'd like it to be. We don't want to carry the horns of a steer. We don't want to be ridden like horses. We don't want to roll in filth like pigs. We are sheep. I am one. I dream of mastering the bleat, making it lovely, more dulcet. Others dream of becoming great sweaters, stand still and patient for the shearing. A little offended when the wool is dyed. We take care of our lambs and of the other sheep, make sure they are safe, well fed. Sometimes this is the best that we can do. The border collie guards us. The good ones let us choose where we graze. If the collie is a wolf, we can say so, point out to anyone who will listen. Or we can shit where he sleeps. We have avenues open to us. We do get angry, stomp our hooves, sound our lunatic bleat. This one's called Ode to My Left Hand. In the soup of genes, blood, skin, muscle, a right-hander was made. In the womb, I heard my mother's muffled heartbeat, reached out with my right hand, even then. On the day of her funeral, I stroked her cheek with my right hand. When I lie dying, my right hand will control the morphine drip while my left lies quietly by my side. But I will thank you, left hand. Remind you that when I pleasured myself, I always started with you. When I ate a meal, you graciously gave the knife over to the right, while he conceded the fork to you. It was a pact. You made gestures of kindness. You never once threw a slap or a punch. One punch, maybe. Only an occasional middle finger. You held the backs of lovers' heads while your nastier partner wandered lower, wandered down, explored. And finally, this is called When. When it rained outside, when the sound of it came through the open window, when you lay naked on the bed, when I knelt on the bed by your feet, when I started licking, kissing your toes, worked my way up, your arches, heels, calves, knees, the hollow at the back of each knee, there, you moaned, moved like an ocean in a storm. Okay? And... And finally, the novel In Progress. When I was a kid, I loved reading mysteries, and now I'm writing one. I used to read the Hardy Boys all the time, and then I found out they weren't into rock and roll anymore, and okay, enough with you guys. I'm done. Anyway, it's about a private investigator in a town that is very much like Greenfield, where I lived for several years. He was just come out of visiting his mother in a nursing home, and he's being approached by a nurse who needs his help. After an hour, I left. As I started my car, I heard a knock on my window. It was one of the nurses in the home. I had seen her before. She wore a long coat, wool hat. She held a pair of mittens in one hand. She stuck out an index finger with the other and made a circular motion indicating I should roll down my window. I heard you help people, she said. Yes. I'd like to meet with you. She paused. Not here, somewhere in town. Why? What can I help you looking for? She shook her head quickly. Not here, she repeated. You know the front room? Downtown, across from the bank. Yeah, that's it. We can meet there. I know everyone there. I've worked there for many years. Tomorrow night at 5, I'll be at the bar. Again, a quick shake of her head, like the idea was unthinkable. No bar. Get a booth in a far corner away from the front window. Are you in any danger? Yes, probably. Okay, booth in a far corner, far from window. Okay, no problem. She nodded wordlessly, bit her lower lip, and sized me up. Okay, she said, and walked away towards the front door of the home. Her steps were hurried, like she felt exposed outside. I backed my car out and left. The following day, I made a point of getting to the front room first. I didn't need her more rattled than she already was. I knew the hostess, Sally. She'd been there for about a year when I left. I liked her a lot. She greeted me with haze. What is happening? I smiled and shrugged. Meeting a possible client. She made her eyes go big. Ooh, intriguing. I laughed. Just be quiet and give me that table in the corner. You bet. She left me there with a food and drink menu. I immediately ordered a stout and nursed it slowly while I waited. A minute or two later, my new client came in. Still nervous, pulling at the sleeves of her coat, looking around. I stood up and waved her over. Head down, she made her way to my table in record time. She removed her coat, revealing tattoo sleeves of vines with thorns on each arm. She removed her hat, and I saw red hair cut very short. As she sat down, I extended my hand. My name's Hayes Cook. She stared at it like it was a foot. I know who you are. Okay, then you probably know that I am a private investigator. She nodded, studying my face. Then what can I do for you? The waitress came and took her drink order. She ordered a 16-ounce Pilsner. Drink first, she said. I pretended to study the menu while she waited for her drink. Her head pivoted from the front door to the other tables. You're scared. She looked at me straight on. Yeah, I am. Tell me why. As I said this, the waitress brought her the beer. She picked it up, took a long, practiced gulp. When she put it down, the glass was half empty. Are you familiar with Sunset Assisted Living? I nodded. They have homes all over Western Mass. She nodded and then started talking at a rapid pace. I worked at the one in Hadley for 2 years. I saw abuse, neglect, overcrowded rooms. They would dope up the patients at night so that they were easier to deal with. And I think there's some shady financial stuff going on. Twice I called the powers that be in Boston and they did nothing. But after the second call, I noticed the same car, a gray SUV, don't know the make or model, following me home. I would get strange calls late at night and there would be silence on the other end, but there was someone there. I know it. Then the last month I was there, I left work one night and found the window on my driver's side, the window on my driver's side smashed, and a note on the front seat. It said, "Keep your mouth shut, bitch." She murmured the word bitch out of the side of her mouth. I waited for her to continue. After that, I gave my notice, and in a couple of weeks, I had the job at the place your mom is at. But I still see that car following me, and I still get the phone calls. I'm scared, Mr. Cook. One of the other nurses told me about you. I nodded. That would have been Meg. 6 months ago, Meg had approached me in much the same manner as the woman I sat with now. Her boyfriend had been physically abusive. Vic and I paid him a visit. The next day, he was gone for good. Meg always had a hug for me, and she sang my praises, and I got a Christmas card from her every year. Do you have a plate number for the SUV? She shook her head, then added in a resigned voice, for all I know, they followed me here again tonight. I checked the front door and then the bar. Anyone sitting there at this point was a regular. It being dark, I couldn't see outside. I pulled out a small notepad and a pen and placed them in front of her, name, phone, and email. She took a deep breath and wrote down the info. She put the pen down and looked up at me. I'm famished, she said, picked up the menu. I took my notebook and checked what she had written. Her name was Ellie Fortran. The waitress returned and Ellie ordered a hamburger and a salad. We didn't speak for a couple of minutes. Do you like this place, she finally asked. I smiled. I do. I worked here as a cook for years till I couldn't do it anymore. Then I got an offer to work for a PI here in town. In Massachusetts, 3 years of experience doing investigative work makes you eligible to become a PI on your own. Did you like working here? I fucking loved it. She winced at my profanity, and I made a mental note to be more careful around her. It would not help my case if she didn't like me. Sorry. Oh, I've heard it before. I was raised Catholic. She smiled a little. You never let go of it entirely. I smiled back. No, I guess you don't. I pulled a business card out of my pocket and placed it on the table. She picked it up and studied it. Then she looked at me. Exactly how old are you? I laughed again. I'm sorry, I just wonder what would happen if things got rough, because her voice trailed off for a moment. Then she continued. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I'm 53 years old and I try to keep in shape. I walk, I lift weights. My partner Vic is 25 years old, a little crazy, and he's built like a Mack truck. She nodded without smiling. You said they just now. What do you mean? She looked around before she answered in a low voice. It's Ray Broadhurst and his 2 kids, a son and a daughter. She shook her head in disgust. It's nothing but a cash cow for them. They're hardly ever there. When I heard the name, I winced a little. I knew it all too well. For a short time, Broadhurst had managed the front room. He was verbally abusive to the help. He cut corners, and if he'd had his way, there would have been a Cisco truck pulling up every week behind the place. It sounded like he'd gotten smarter in his malfeasance. My bowl of soup and Ellie's food arrived at the same time. We ate quietly while I pondered whether or not to let her know about my own brief history with Broadhurst. I decided to be straight with her. So, full disclosure, I knew Broadhurst, or I know Broadhurst. Fact is, he managed this place for a little while. I paused. He wasn't a good fit. She chewed her burger and nodded. I'm reasonably sure he'd remember me. Not long before he left, we nearly came to blows. He was giving me a hard time about my cooking, telling me what I should make. I'm a proud man. Not long after that, the owners canned him. He's an evil man. She forked some lettuce from her salad into her mouth, then speared half a cherry tomato and did the same. I pulled out my notebook again and wrote down Broadhurst's name. Ellie finished her beer and flagged down the waitress for another. I looked at her tired eyes, her pale skin, her shaking hands. It was clear she had a problem with alcohol. This could end up being a problem for me, but I figured I would back burner it for the time being. So what now, she asked. Vic and I do a little undercover work at the home, see what's up. I will keep in touch with you. It was best not to tell her too much, not until I knew more. My rates are on the back of my card. Think about it for a couple of days. Get back to me. She shook her head. No, my decision's already made. I'll go with you and your partner. The thing is, I need protection. I'll talk to Vic. We can work something out. Outside, we shook hands. I adore your mother, she said. And she turned towards downtown and walked away. I watched her until she turned the corner and was gone. Several times, she checked all around to see if she was being followed. Her being a little more than a little volatile, I thought maybe she was imagining it, but during my walk home, I was proved wrong. I watched the gray SUV turn onto my street moments after I did. Though his lights were off, making it impossible for me to get a plate number, I stopped and turned completely to watch it drive by me and continued down my street, making a left turn at the end. The windows were tinted, so I could not see who was driving. Once I was gone, I continued walking home. I don't believe in coincidences. I should have trusted Ellie more. I would not make that mistake again. Thank you very much.
And that is another one in the books. So I'd like to thank everyone again who read. I'd like to thank our featured Dawn Fisher for coming and reading. And I'd just like to welcome everyone back again next month. Once again, thank you to Holyoke Media for the use of the space, the recording, and thank you to Mass Cultural Council, that's number 3, for funding this event. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.